and we'll make sure to provide some details at the end. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you are on WebEx and have a question for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the WebEx question and answer panel, where our wonderful panelists are ready to respond. For those tuning into our live stream, thank you very much for joining in as well. Q&A is limited to those via WebEx. However, we will have a post-event Q&A thread over on the Cisco Learning Network community where you can post any follow-up questions. Without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming Alexandra. Alex, over to you.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Good day, everyone. Welcome, welcome. My name is Alexandria, and I'm an XDR Architecture SPM here at Cisco. Now, I've been with Cisco now for about 6.5 years, and I have a strong relationship with cybersecurity. Now, in my former tech life, so let's get started. So let's start our presentation off again by having a quick overview of secure network analytics and introducing you to the Secure Networks Analytics onboarding checklist. So of course, there are 5 main elements that are a part of SNA that provide the ability to detect advanced threats in real time. So first things first, we have the data collection piece. That is all of your routers, switches, firewalls, and any of the exporters you have configured within your network that deliver all of the rich telemetry to your SNA environment. Then we have behavior modeling. SNA closely monitors the activity of every device on the network and is able to create a baseline of normal behavior. Now, in addition to that, it also has a deep understanding of known bad behavior. This is implemented by applying hundreds of security observations that look at various types of traffic behavior. Then there is the multi-layered machine learning. So SNA's machine learning works to discover advanced threats and malicious communications, both supervised and unsupervised. It integrates with a cloud-based multi-stage machine learning analytics pipeline that correlates threat behavior seen in the enterprise with those that are seen globally. Then from there, there's the awesome and all-amazing global threat intelligence powered by our lovely Talos, which provides an additional layer of protection against botnets and other sophisticated attacks. Talos is so great that it correlates suspicious activity in a local network environment with data on thousands of known command and control servers and campaigns to provide high fidelity detection and faster threat response. Now, a whopping fact is that Cisco Talos sees about 1.5 million unique malware samples daily and blocks 20 billion threats per day. Now, who's had their coffee today? Yeah. Then finally, last but certainly not least, there is encrypted traffic analytics. Mind you, SNA is the only solution that can analyze encrypted traffic without decryption using the enhanced telemetry from the new Cisco network and apply a combination of advanced analytics mentioned earlier to detect malware and ensure crypto compliance. Now, you don't have to cry about this. It's beautiful. I know, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. So here we have the lovely SNA onboarding checklist. This checklist can be used as a guide to help you to onboard and implement your security visibility needs. Now, as you can see, it is divided into 4 stages: getting started, implementation best practices, basic use case configuration, and expanding the usage. So side note, Cisco fam, please know that today's session is not meant to provide you with a detailed step-by-step guide your first 90 days with SNA, but rather a high-level overview of the main tasks you need to perform in order to onboard, implement, use the core features, and then, of course, expand. So let's start by looking at the getting started stage. So for the first 4 items listed in the getting started stage, here are some guidelines and important links, as well as resources that you'll need as you progress through it. Now, to onboard to SNA, you'll first have to make sure you have a valid CCO ID and an active smart licensing account. Now, in the first box here, you can find a link to the Smart Licensing Software Guide for version 742. Now, this guide is pretty awesome. It will walk you through the process of setting up your smart license within your SN environment. It also gives you information about how to configure your proxy servers to reach the smart licensing servers, which is super important. Now, next, it's time to learn about SNA as a solution. You can leverage the links provided in the second box to schedule both live and on-demand courses. These courses will definitely support you throughout your learning journey within SNA. And in the third step, you're going to want to familiarize yourself with the installation guides. These are dedicated guides for both hardware and virtual deployments. Now, picture this, if you will. For Christmas, you purchase one of those battery-operated cars for your toddler. As you see the joy in their little face as they push their little foot on the gas, thinking that they're going to accelerate forward, just for them to accelerate backwards, because you said, oh, I don't need to read those instructions. What do I need those for? Now little Jimmy is over there with whiplash. So Cisco fam, make sure you read the guide. Make sure you do. They have your best interest at heart. Now, after completing the deployment, you also need to make sure that your SNA appliances, your manager, flow collector, and flow sensor have the most up-to-date patch versions. Now, in the third box, you'll find links to all of these items, and this is genuinely important. Don't just set it and forget it. Yes, SNA can run 365 days without a reboot, but what are patches and upgrades for? What is your environment missing out on? What bugs may have been found, So definitely come up with a maintenance plan that you and your team can commit to keep your SNA environment up to date. Now, at the fourth stage, you'll be almost ready for implementation, so pat yourself on the back. The only thing left would be for you to familiarize yourself with the features and capabilities that come with the SNA solution. For this, you can leverage the SNA Learning Portal and the NSA Self-Guided Journey page, which of course is linked here in the fourth box. Now, as I have stated in the previous slide, we do have an awesome training center. SNA users can now get a range of learning opportunities from self-directed training to instructor-led hands-on labs. This training will surely help you to gain an extra edge to be intentional in augmenting the value of your deployment and achieving successful security outcomes. The training center can be accessed via your CCO ID, and you can definitely go ahead if you would like to test your access now by clicking the link that will be provided to you within the chat and logging in using your CCO ID credentials. Now, once you access the training center, you'll find a complete library of self-directed trainings, instructor-led trainings, technical documentation such as use cases and getting started guides, and small learning supplements like how-to videos and reference cards for you when you need on-demand support. These trainings are especially helpful for anyone new to SNA, like those who may be new to your team, those who are learning how to use the system to achieve your network security goals, and those who are using your deployment as part of your security suite. It's simply awesome. Each of the instructor-led trainings courses are curated for your individual role in using SNA. Now, research has shown that customers who attend these courses cut their deployment time by what? In half. And guess what? These lovely instructor-led courses are available to customers who have an active flow rate license for what? What cost? No additional cost. That is free 99, Cisco fam. Free 99. So yes, use these courses to help you establish the baseline behavior in your environment, detect anomalous behavior, and configure the product to integrate seamlessly with your other security products. Now, if you do need assistance accessing the training center, navigating to the right type of content within the library for your needs, or enrolling in any of the course courses we highlighted, please contact secure-analytics-training@cisco.com, and you will receive support from one of our training center experts who can guide you with no problem at all. So now we'll be reviewing the second stage of the checklist, which is implementation best practices. We all need some best practices. Now, in order to correctly configure NetFlow, we need to follow these basic steps, which is, of course, to define a flow record, configure a flow exporter, configure a flow monitor, and apply the flow monitor to an interface. Now, for the scope of this session, we will not go into the details of the configuration, but we will look at a configuration example in the next slide. And for a deeper dive, I recommend you all sign up for a deployment dedicated session or schedule an accelerator session for the implement lifecycle stage, which will definitely help you out. Now, here we have an example of a NetFlow configuration on a Cisco iOS router. The primary source of guidance for NetFlow configuration is the published Cisco NetFlow Configuration Guide. Now, in addition to providing configuration best practices and highlights, it also provides the configuration commands for the different Cisco products. There is also a recommended online NetFlow generation tool that you can use to generate the initial NetFlow templates for your flow exporters. Exciting, right? Now, it allows you to pick the type of platform, model, and whether ETA is required to be enabled or not. Then it generates the configuration for you. Super easy peasy, right? However, I do want you to bear in mind that this tool is crowdsourced, so the configuration should be thoroughly inspected before use. Definitely. Now, to help with inspecting NetFlow configuration, we need to keep into consideration the minimum fields required to successfully have SNA ingest and apply analytics and observations. Those requirements are displayed on the right-hand side, and any missing field within the NetFlow configuration template will result in either decode errors or drop flows by the flow collector, which is not what we want. Now, while enabling NetFlow version 9 does require only the 7 key fields, right? Secure Network Analytics needs at least 12 fields for it to apply to analytics and observations. So make sure you use the NetFlow config wizard. The minimum key fields are present in any template that it publishes, which is great for you. Now, let's take a look at establishing host groups in the next step, right? For those who are unfamiliar with the concept of host groups, a host group is a grouping of hosts that share attributes and policies. They are monitored to establish baseline behavior and thresholds. They are pretty important to the SNA environment. Now, there are two main methods to establish host groups: manual host group creation and the host classifier app, which can be downloaded and installed into your SNA Manager's web UI. Now, with the manual host groups, you can define groups using individual IPs, ranges, or blocks of IPs, right? And with the host classifier app, on the other hand, it uses an automated predefined approach by categorizing each host on a network based on the behavior and characteristics. The host classifier app can identify various types of hosts such as mobile devices, virtual machines, servers, and more. I definitely love that app. And you will too. Now, after establishing your host groups, which lays the ground for establishing baseline behavior and thresholds, we do recommend that you create custom core policies. Role policies are part of the SNA policy management tool, and more specifically, the core policies. As you can see here, core policies fall into 3 buckets: either default, role, or host. You can see here that the order of precedence has host policies coming first, which are applied to single hosts. What this means is that if a security event triggers an alarm for host, say 10.151.68.30 here, SNA looks to the host policy to determine what to do about it first. If there is no policy existing within that host policy for the security event in question, SNA then checks the role policy, which applies to host groups. If no policy was found in host or role policies, then the default policy would take effect. Now, keep in mind that it is always preferable to create a role policy for a host group rather than for an individual host. Now, let's walk through the 10-step process of creating a custom role policy. To edit or add policies, you're going to hover over the Configure tab at the top of your SNA web UI, and of course, click on Policy Management. From there, you're going to go to the right side in the menu and create new policy, and then you'll go ahead and choose role policy in this scenario. Once we select role policy, a new page opens where we will then give the policy a name and then enter in the host group or groups that it should apply to the role policy. From there, you then enter in the IPs or ranges involved and then select the category or security event that the role policy should apply to. Then in step 9, you'll set the event to on, off, alarm, etc., depending on if the host is a source or a target, and then save. Now, I'm telling you, it is a pretty straightforward process. Now, the final item on our checklist for the implementation stage is to create custom security events, or CSEs. Note that not everyone will need to create these. Every organization is different. Now, a CSE is a new policy created for your system that is configured based on rule types and rule values. These rules evaluate the related flow attributes. If these attributes match the rule parameters you have set for a policy, then SNA can potentially trigger the alarm for that custom security event, as well as for the policy violation alarm category. Now, unlike standard events, this evaluation is limited to a single flow and is not based on baselining or trends. Now, say you want to create a CSE that will trigger any time an IP within your internal host group accesses a Disney Plus server. You know, someone is trying to watch Home Alone 3, which is a classic. I love it. I love it. Now, in order to create a CSE, you will need to have you will notice that we have 3 steps here, which also includes an additional step 0. Step 0 here talks about establishing your host groups, which we did discuss earlier. Now, the first step after verifying host group classification is to navigate to the CSE tool on the SNA web UI. This will then take you to the CSE builder, and from there you can create a CSE and define the flow conditions to which you want to create a custom alarm for. Now, very important, Cisco fam, once all conditions are defined, the last step to see which IP is accessing the Disney Plus server is to enable the CSE. Without enabling the CSE will definitely not function. So remember to enable. Now, this brings us to the stage after implementation, which is configuration. Now, the first step of the basic use case configuration stage is to identify integrations and the timeline to implement them. This slide, as you can see, provides an overview of secure network analytics integrations. Now, I would have to say that one of my favorites on this slide would be ICE, as it provides a rich context about the hosts operating on a network, which can be gold for SecOps and NetOps teams. Now, I want you to remember that the next checklist item is to identify app compatibility and recommended apps. So here's a list of applications that SNA will provide you. Now, one of my favorites on this slide here is that I've seen a lot of customers use because it provides a lot of value in those executive leadership meetings is the visibility assessment, as well as the ETA cryptographic audit. Now, I want you to remember that before being able to download and install any of these apps, please make sure it's compatible with your deployment. We have referenced the app compatibility matrix here for you, so you can check that out and see what is compatible. Now, this slide shows you an example of installing the ETA cryptographic app via the Secure Network Analytics Manager Web UI. Now, of course, first things first, you're going to download the app from Cisco.com. And then while in the SNA Web UI, you're going to go to Central Management, which is under Global Settings. And then once you get there, then you'll see this lovely App Manager tab, in which you'll be able to click Browse to navigate to the file that you downloaded. The crypto audit application will be listed in the App Manager after it has been downloaded. Remember that you will, from time to time, have to update the version of an app, in which you will follow the same process as outlined here by going to software.cisco.com, downloading the latest and greatest, and installing via the App Manager. Now, moving on to the next checklist item, which is to identify and implement 1 to 2 use cases. As you can see here, use cases are organized by category and across the product lifecycle. And in the SNA use case library, we have defined different uses for how you can use SNA. This library provides support documentation for gaining visibility, detecting threats, enhancing integration, and increasing your overall SNA use. This library is definitely very helpful to you. Now, this here is a screenshot of how the use case library is organized, with a full list of use cases that you can use to your advantage. You can access the library from the reference link below here, in which you guys will all get copies of this slide. So prior to here, right, you've become more familiar with the SNA environment. You've implemented SNA, you have your eye on 1 to 2 use cases that you'd like to pursue, and now you're ready to look at the last stage of the checklist, which is expanding the usage of SNA. Now, expanding the usage starts by tuning your system, which is achieved by the 6-phase approach to tuning. A lot of users think that SNA is an out-of-the-box product. In some instances, it can be. But in fact, the more that you put into it, the more value and love you will receive from it, which is why tuning your environment is critical to its success. Now, in the first phase, as you can see on this slide, is classify inside. This means that you're going to bring any of those public IPs that make up your LAN/WAN infrastructure to an inside host group, separating the internet, as we like to call it. And in phase 2, you're going to define your role policies by functions, mapping your firewalls, your proxies, and NAT devices to their own function groups. In phase 3, you will classify those known internal scanners such as vulnerability scanners. A quick way of doing this, first starting out, would be to use the visibility assessment app, hint, hint. And in phase 4, you're going to then classify known common server types such as your DNS, NTP, domain controllers, etc. A common way of doing this is by using the host classifier app. Let it do the work for you. In phase 5, you're going to look at your cloud providers and classify them, such as your favorite Facebook. Who doesn't love a good Facebook session while at work? I know. And in phase 6, you're going to want to classify any of those undefined applications. Now, mind you, while SNA does have hundreds of default applications defined, there are some custom applications that may be unique to your organization that you may want to define in this phase. Now, for a deep dive into this topic, please refer to the dedicated ATX and ACC sessions and or get with your customer success specialist and ask for a tuning call. Now, following this step of expanding the usage is 3 more steps, which is, of course, maintaining patch updates, identifying and implementing 1 or 2 more use cases, because, that helps you to achieve a more valuable use in the product, and identifying other integrations and apps. We've covered these in the previous stages in today's presentation, of course. And here are some features and primary enhancements that you can keep in top of mind during your deployment for version 7.4.2, which as of yesterday is no longer the latest release. It is now 7.5.0. But for an overview of what you can expect within a new release or a patch, please refer to the release notes, which can be reviewed via the software.cisco.com site and are recommended for your review, as they will keep you up to date on bug fixes and new features. Now, we've talked about plenty of steps and tools, and here's another one that can be used to your advantage: a health check. Now, every once in a while, a health check can be used to check into how your SNA environment is thriving. It helps you to determine if you're using your licensing correctly, if there's any need for tuning, etc., that needs to be done to host policies, and if there are any other opportunities for integrations and more. This data is collected through an awesome DIAC pack. Now, to request a health check, please feel free to contact your CSS, SPM, or CSE, and they will get you started in the process. It's pretty painless, not painful, painless. Now, here are a few key points to remember. Of course, SNA provides 5 main elements to detect advanced threats in real time. You're going to want to use the SNA onboarding checklist to onboard and implement your security visibility needs. It's going to help you get through it. Number 3, you're going to make sure you locate the right installation guide that suits your deployment type. You're going to read those installation guides because you don't want your toddler Jimmy to have whiplash. We're going to read them. Yes. You're going to establish your host groups accurately and use that to help you set the baseline and configure your policies in step 4. In step 5, SNA provides a wide range of integrations. You're going to want to look and review what integrations you would like to integrate within SNA so that you can find better value in the solution. And last but not least, you're going to want to leverage the SNA training library. You're going to want to leverage the SNA training library to identify your specific use cases and needs of the solution itself. Now, on this slide, it all happens to us. Sometimes we need help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We all have been there. So if you ever need to get in contact with our awesome TAC, please utilize either of the methods below, and a member of the TAC team will greatly assist you. Now, here are some recommended next steps, right? If you don't have one already, please remember to create a CCID so that you can access the training center, complete a foundations course, schedule a follow-up call with your respective representative, and train. Get all of the library resources that you can to learn about SNA as a solution and get help if you need it. All righty. It is time for live Q&A, and here are some additional resources that you can utilize that will be provided to you to help you get through your SNA customer journey. So let's go ahead and open up that Q&A. Let's see. Are there any Q&As out there? Oh, I do see a question. And I see, would TAC assist me in the upgrade process? Of course they will assist you in the upgrade process. They are a break-fix team, so as long as the environment is in a broken state per se, say one of your appliances is failing to upgrade, they will assist you in the upgrade process. Now, for example, say you want them to stand by and be available to you during an upgrade. Say you may need help. They won't be available to you then, only if something breaks. So Don't open up a case necessarily to say, hey, I would like a TAC representative to stand by with me as I go through the upgrade. It won't be available for that. They're strictly for break-fix issues. So if there's a device that's failing, if there's a process that's failing, if you're running out of memory, all of that, please open up a TAC case and they will help you through the upgrade process. Let's see. Any other questions out there? Alrighty. Team, I'm not seeing any other questions. Are you guys seeing anything?
There's one question about the links where they're unable to click on the presentation. We'll make sure to provide those. I'll place them in the chat, but we'll also be placing the links to the post-webinar discussion thread, which will be included. That'll include the link to the YouTube video where you can stream after the session. It'll be made immediately, for view immediately. And then you can also, if you have any other questions, can post it in there. So thank you for that. Another question come in. Beth asks, can you let's see, if you can let folks know, oh, it looks like it was answered, but let me just go ahead and read it, that if they do want upgrade or deploy an assistance, they are training classes available, which I believe we link in their resources, should be that second bullet point, Secure Network Analytics Training Center. So we'll get that posted. Thank you very much, Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
Alex, are you seeing any other questions on your end?
I think I do see one more. Someone's asking, how would I determine if I'm in need of a health check? That is a great question. Say your system is going slow or you have one device that maybe is spinning or not coming up. Maybe one of your devices keeps failing, or say you have an ICE deployment and you're not seeing any of the user logs or anything like that. A health check definitely would be needed. Or even say you've had your system running for those 365 days without putting a patch on or upgrading. You can definitely ask for a health check in that instance to help you get through and figure out what your next steps can be into making sure that your system is performing optimally. So yes, that is a great question. And I'm not seeing anything else. Come on, don't be shy, you guys. Any other questions out there? I'm not seeing anything else. The audience is shy today. Alrighty. Well, I definitely want to thank you guys for joining today's session. I hope that you have found it valuable. Again, these slides will be provided to you or made available to you along with the lovely links. And yes, we are here for you, Cisco fams. If you need us for anything, please don't be afraid to reach out. We're here to help you. And thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Alex. Very informative session. Again, if you have a question, I've placed the link to the post-webinar or the event discussion thread for the Cisco Learn Network where the links will be posted. So go ahead and visit that, post any follow-up questions, and we can go ahead and get those answered to you. All right. So again, I want to thank Alexandria, our panelists, and the whole team for bringing their knowledge to the Cisco community. For even more tutorials, demonstrations, and future webinars, please do visit the Cisco Learning Network. Your feedback is important, and at this time, you'll be directed to a survey. So we do encourage you to take the time to participate. Let us know how we did, and as well as any future topics you'd like to be discussed. Once again, we thank everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.